They were often called sisters, though not by blood. In college, Izzy and Claire were that rare case where opposites not only attract, but create a heady mix of laughter, arguments, and absolute trust. Izzy, perpetually disheveled, with a coffee stain on her jeans and a genuine smile that endeared her to even the most surly professors. Claire, on the other hand, was composed, with impeccable posture, a sharp mind, and makeup that didn't flake even after the wildest parties. Claire found in Izzy the sincerity she'd always lacked in a world of calculation and wise decisions. And Izzy and Claire, a reliable wall behind which she could hide from her own flightiness. They studied for exams together, lied to their parents about sleeping in the library, and then ran off to the dorm roof to look at the stars. Claire knew Izzy's shoe size, what migraine pills to take, and the name of her first dog. Izzy, however, was the only one who saw Claire not as the perfect girl, but simply as a girl who could cry into her pillow over a guy who dumped her a week before finals. They vowed to each other that they would get through anything together. Life seemed to confirm this vow when, without any connections, thanks only to their persistence and brains, they both landed jobs at a major marketing firm. In their department, they were nicknamed the Mind Sisters. Management valued this partnership. Claire's analytical genius and Izzy's creative intuition produced results that took other departments twice as long to achieve. They had each other's backs. If Izzy got carried away and missed a deadline, Claire would quietly finish her reports. When Claire was pushing herself too hard and running out of steam, Izzy would drag her to a bar or bombard her with ideas that would break her creative block. Promotion seemed like a matter of time for both of them. They even joked about one day opening their own agency and calling it Izzy and Claire. It was a wonderful time. A time of absolute trust. Until he entered their cozy little world. Anthony showed up at the office on a grey Tuesday. Tall, slightly stubbled, wearing an expensive watch, and the look of a man accustomed to enjoying life to the fullest. The new creative director. Young, bold, and incredibly attractive. The kind of man they call well-bred. Claire fell in love instantly. She, always so reserved, turned into a schoolgirl the moment Anthony stepped into the elevator. Her voice changed, she started laughing louder, and she found 100 reasons to run into his office with reports that could be mailed. Izzy teased her friend. "Claire, you're like the cat that saw catnip." Claire waved her hand dismissively, hiding a smile, but her eyes gave it all away. The problem was, Anthony didn't notice. Or rather, he did notice, but not in the same way. He was always polite with Claire, but with Izzy, he indulged in a touch of office flirtation. "Hey, creative, great presentation. Izzy, let's go to lunch. I need your energy today." For Izzy, it was all just empty talk. Anthony was her friend's boss, her friend's friend, part of the office landscape. She didn't pay attention to it. But Claire did. Every moment like that cut into her like a splinter. She stopped seeing Izzy as a friend. She saw her as a rival. Someone who, without meaning to, stood between her and her goal. The first cracks appeared unnoticed. Claire began to snap. When asked, "What happened?" she answered coldly. "Everything's fine, you just wouldn't understand." She stopped waiting for Izzy after work, cancelling their traditional Friday get-togethers. Izzy attributed it to stress and the rush, to Claire working too much. She didn't notice how, one day, upon entering the conference room, Claire abruptly minimized her laptop window, pretending to read her email. She didn't see how her friend secretly reviewed her correspondence with Anthony about work matters. The first blow came during a planning meeting. Izzy was presenting a strategy for a major client they were working on together. Anthony listened, nodding contentedly. And then Claire, with the most innocent expression, raised her hand. "Anthony, there's one thing." "Izzy, forgive me for interrupting, but the figures for the second quarter. There's a clear error in the sources. A 10% margin of error. The client won't approve that kind of budget." Silence fell over the room. Izzy was speechless. Claire had calculated those numbers herself. Those were her data. She opened her mouth to protest. But Claire looked at her with sympathy that was completely incomplete. Anthony frowned and asked her to double-check the calculations. Izzy began to look incompetent in the eyes of her superiors. After the meeting, she lashed out at her friend. "What was that just now? Those were your numbers." "Izzy, calm down and stop being so dramatic. Claire spoke calmly, as if to a child. I saved the project. If this had come out later, we both would have been fired. Do you really want us both to lose our jobs because of your inattention? Don't be selfish. Izzy swallowed her resentment. Claire was right, work is work. A week later, an important file she'd spent half the night working on disappeared from Izzy's desk. Claire, sympathetic, suggested buying cloud storage. Then there was the coffee incident. Izzy spilled her cappuccino on the document she was taking to Anthony for signature. A simple accident, but the day before, Claire, with a gentle smile, had treated her to her signature Turkish coffee, which Izzy adored. The next morning, her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the cup. She thought it was exhaustion. Now, looking back, she realized it was unlikely to be poison, but a mild sedative or something that made her absent-minded. She'd never know for sure. But the aftertaste remained forever. The climax came on Friday. Before the board meeting, a month of work on a tender for a chain retailer. Izzy's promotion to department head was at stake. She and Claire pored over the presentation until late at night. Claire, ever so caring, brought Izzy chamomile tea, noticing her tension. Drink this. Calm down. Tomorrow is our day. Izzy drank it. She woke up on the couch in the break room. Her head was pounding. Her hands were shaking. The clock said 11:15. The meeting had started at 10 o'clock. She burst into the conference room, disheveled, with dark circles under her eyes. Anthony looked at her with icy disdain. And Claire? Claire stood at the flip chart. She turned and smiled. It wasn't the smile of a friend. It was the smile of a victor who had crushed a defeated enemy. The slides she was showing bore only her last name. Izzy's ideas, her work, her texts, all had been rewritten, appropriated. But the foundation remained hers. And it was evident in every line. Izzy, we've already discussed everything. Anthony's voice was dry. Your part was weak. Claire had to quickly rework her strategy last night alone. You weren't answering your calls. Izzy looked at Claire. She searched her eyes for guilt, hoping she'd say, guys, this is a joke. But Claire only shook her head slightly. A gesture that said, go away, don't embarrass yourself. You lost. Izzy stormed out of the office. She threw up in the bathroom. Maybe from the tea, maybe from the realization that everything she believed in had collapsed. That evening, a text message arrived. She reread it hundreds of times, trying to understand how the Claire who cried on her shoulder and this one could coexist in the same person. Izzy, I'm sorry it happened. You weren't in shape. Anthony is my chance. And it's your own fault. You were always pestering him with your stupid friendliness, pretending to be this sweet idiot everyone admired. Did you think I'd let you come between me and him? You didn't even notice me preparing that tender. Did you think we were friends? There are no friends, Izzy. There are only goals and resources. You were a great resource. Thank you. I'll send my resignation on Monday. It'll be easier for you. Or do you want me to tell Anthony about your instability? It's up to you. Good luck. Izzy quit on Monday. Not because of threats, but because the sight of Claire was physically unbearable. Anthony, by the way, transferred Claire to another department a couple of months later. And he himself was rumored to be dating a girl from accounting, a blonde who looked like a doll. They met 6 months later in the same cafe where they used to sit after class. Claire was still as flawless as ever. An expensive handbag, a perfect manicure, a slight smile on her lips. You wanted to meet, Izzy? I'm listening. Izzy was silent. She wanted to scream, to accuse, to hit. But looking into those cold, alien eyes, she realized, the Claire she loved had never existed. It was only an artful mirage that dissipated at the first breath of wind called personal gain. Nothing, Izzy said quietly, rising. I just wanted to say goodbye. A real goodbye. She placed the money for her coffee on the table and stepped out into the spring sunshine. It hurt, but a strange, intoxicating feeling of freedom pierced through the pain. Betrayal destroys everything you believed in, but it also gives you the most honest answer in the world to the question, who are you and who is next to you? Izzy smiled. Her life was just beginning. Without Claire,